Hello and welcome everyone, I'm C.S.Gilmore, and this is Powerwash Simulator. So, we have to clean a washroom. You know, a lot of folks have asked me recently, Clem, why the heck you buy a huge abandoned washroom when you only ever gonna need it 6 to 8 times a day? What? 6 to 8 times a day? How do you have skin left? I'll tell you, I'm gonna convert it into Buckingham's premier nightclub. That is not where I thought that was going to go. Okay. Young'uns crave novelty, right? And I can tell you ain't no one around here experienced acoustics like you can get in this place. I can tell you that. Anyhow, I'm a bit of a germaphobe myself, so I only got as far as taking the cubicle doors off. If you could blast the place, I can see what I'm playing with. Right. Okay. What are we looking at here? Okay, we got this place. Starts here, goes in. Someone's already been in here, yep. Footprints. Uh-huh. Not sure what's up with some of that. Yeah, washroom. Okay. Just gonna take a quick look around what we're dealing with. Filthy. Yes, it is. I feel like there's gonna be some weird Easter eggs in here. Puzzle. Oh, also, what can I do with this? Anything? I have that. I do with all the nozzles, though, so creates a narrow fan of water, it provides strong balance, provides good balance, yeah, cleaning liquid, all that good stuff. Okay, that's actually looks pretty good. So here's what I'm thinking for the nightclub conversion. Ah, there's our gnome. Always a gnome. Oh, this is gonna be a satisfying one. Line of glitter balls leads you in through the entry tunnel, shining light of every color in every angle and every face. Alright, so what's the rest of this building about? Get you all discombobulated, but excited. Okay, I feel like there's definitely more to this building than I'm seeing. Especially if he's planning to turn this into a nightclub, there needs way more room. Oh, okay, this is just going to be one of those really... I mean, maybe there's going to be some annoying parts with the toilets and the sinks, I don't know, but this is feeling like it's going to be a very satisfying clean. One of those ones where it comes off in big swaths so you can just move right along. Ah, the light's getting brighter. There we go. Wait, did I actually make the... I think I actually made it brighter in here. Yeah, I think it did. I think I actually made it brighter in the room around this light. That's interesting. Could be wrong. Maybe it's just me, but kind of feels like it. Okay, anyway. So today's topic of conversation. I was thinking, it's a washroom. Let's talk water temples. Good, bad, and ugly. Because, boy, sometimes water temples can be real annoying. Hey, if you remember back in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, that water temple, so much up and down, left and right, and up and down some more. I feel like some of the more recent water temples in Zelda games haven't been nearly as bad for just being annoying and puzzling all over the place, having to swim up this and then down this and then over here and raise the water level to this and then drop it down to this and then go over here. But if you didn't set that one right, so go back all over here and do this again. Yeah. Ocarina of Time was pretty rough on that one, as I recall. But, not saying it wasn't still a great fun time that I played a ridiculous amount as a kid. And let's see, other Zeldas, I don't recall the water temples being nearly as bad. Though I am having some trouble remembering Twilight Princess's water temple right now. And how complicated that one was, whether it was very complex or just a little bit. I think there was some shifting of things around and water levels shifting about that wasn't too bad, but also wasn't the easiest. And then I feel like some of the more recent stuff like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, man, I feel like the water temples and those ones were a lot easier. Except for a few odd pieces. But for the most part, they were a lot easier to deal with. Probably because of the huge amount of traversal you get in those couple of Zelda games. The amount of traversal really negates a lot of the issues of most water temples. Because traversal is the main name of the game for a lot of those things previously. And that's why it was such a puzzle. Was, oh yes, you want to get up to the 3rd floor. Well, first you have to drop down to the 1st floor, clean out that thing there. You have to raise the water, but only so you can get up through a certain room. Then you have to cut around to a different side. It was one of those, it was one of those things that got very complicated. Wait, the door frame itself is a thing. Oh no, it's the wall around the door frame. Okay, I guess this whole thing is considered the door frame. Interesting. Alright. But, yeah, those were times. Those were some interesting things. Alright, the tunnels themselves, not bad. Let's get this other tunnel here and just work our way in. Okay, yeah, so this is how light is. Really trying to tell if it actually is improving the lighting. I feel like it did. Maybe it's just an optical illusion on my part or whatever, but I feel like it definitely did something. Alright. Yeah, so water temples. But let's talk about those in like Dungeons and Dragons formatting here now. Dungeons and Dragons. How can we use water temples in a way that isn't going to drive our party up a wall? Also, it's a little trickier with, I would say, D&D because your party has so many tools at their disposal that you never know what your party is actually going to do. A good example of this would be, let's say you make a puzzle. In order to open this gate, you must first fill 2 basin pools to either side. By opening these valves and draining water from these other rooms, that you also have to go fight this thing and deal with another monster and dodge a thing while you're at it. And there's traps over here. Well, that's all fine and good until you realize, as a DM you forgot that your high-level cleric can create water and create a buttload of it, or that maybe the party has certain items. I think there's a few endless items that tend to pour out like liquids or a certain amount of liquid per day. I forget the exact details, but either way, lots of liquid that your chances are your party, if they have those, could very well use those to bypass your puzzling by just going, all right, we filled the tubs. Done. Puzzle solved. Now, there are ways around this, of course. You could be like, but they're magic pools, and only the specific specific water from these places could fill them. Well, you still might have issues because, like, say they have certain portal abilities and items. They might still just be like, cool, I slapped this in here and then dropped this here and bypassed the whole having to open up this sluice gate issue, and we don't even have to go in this room because the wizard opened a gateway that just poured all the water we needed. Or, it opened up a lot of stuff there that you could bypass the system with. And once again, you could still be like, but it has to go through these things in order to obtain certain properties through these runic passages in the piping. But at that point, like, let's face it, at that point you sound exactly like it probably is coming across, is that you're just trying to railroad the party into doing things your way so they don't bypass any of your dungeons. And sometimes that really isn't great. Just like sometimes like there's a bit of you expect the DM to be like, yes, but that has already been accounted for. But it can be pretty obvious sometimes when they're just going, oh wait, I did not plan for this. I have to make this work. Like you have to make it believable that you already planned for that, and that this was already part of the thing, and for a reason. And it usually needs to be a reasonable reason because, and not just I just made this difficult to make it difficult. It's like, yes, but the reason it's this challenging is because this is a trial set forth by the temple's goddess, and she won't allow cheating. That's something you could work with. Your services are required back at the carnival in order to redress the scales of justice. Isn't that the guy who watched us cleaning the other thing? I'm guessing we're going to have to go clean his roller coaster. Enter the main room, where each of the stinks is converted into drink dispensers. That does not sound like a good idea, my man. Okay. But okay, well, you do you, whatever. You know what? Yeah, I have to de-rust those. Speakers built into the floor hit you with the deepest bass beats from your toes up. Could see how that might work. But once again, where in the world are you going to actually have the dancing and everything else, like anything else club-wise here? Because this place is not that big unless I missed a turn off onto a side room or something. This place is not big enough to be doing this sort of deal. I love how I somehow got that drain while not even aiming at it, really. Alright, well, we'll keep moving for now. So, yeah, you have to be careful not to railroad your party and whatnot, but you can definitely pull off some things for reasonable reasons in the universe and in that setting as to why they can't easily bypass some of these little shortcuts and whatnot that they might otherwise think of. But it requires you as a DM to be well aware of their capabilities and to have planned accordingly ahead of time, to not sound like you're just, BSing on the spot, like you probably otherwise would be. Or you have to go with it and reward them for their creativity and be like, cool, you did it. You bypassed this, and now you don't have to deal with this room and this room. Maybe they don't get some treasure that way, though, because, hey, you didn't take all the challenge, you don't get all the reward. There was probably, you could easily have had some, whether there was treasure in there initially or not, you could easily put some treasure in there. And be like, now they have an incentive to go into those rooms and do it the proper way, the designed way, and that way you still get your encounters and don't have to be like, oh man, I didn't plan ahead enough to have this all ready for you. There's nice ways to do it without feeling, but essentially there's ways to incentivize a party to do things the way the DM would like them to do them without straight up railroads. Because the party could still go, yeah, man, this fight is really nasty. We're pulling back, and it's just not worth it. We're leaving. That is an entirely viable option there. They don't need that treasure. Let's move on. And so, yeah, you have to account for that may just be what happens. But, yeah, you never know with the party. Some parties are more or less likely to be one way or the other. More likely to be creative in certain passages and less creative in others. Of course, you always have to watch out for you might also, another way you could account for, like, oh yes, the basin challenge that I was just describing. And something else the party could do that you didn't account for. Alright, we have to get the water through here to here, but there's blockages in this area. We have to clear that in order to get that. And then the cleric's like, I've got shaped stone. And, alright, I think that was a cleric spell if I remember. It's been a while since I used that one at all. But yeah, I've got this stone shaping spell. It's slow, it'll take me a while, but we have time. We could just camp out here and I'll tear through this wall here and create a substitute channel DM says there are special runes. You discover some special runes on there. The enchants the water going through in a way that it needs to go through that part. Okay, well, I'll just make sure the water goes through those parts of that while bypassing the blockages. And oh well, that blockage right there is probably a bit of dirt and rock anyway. I could just just remove it. Like, once again, reward their creativity, but also be prepared that your party will think of ways to bypass everything you have planned for, whether you meant it to or not. I think a great example of this was, I think I told this story before of, I had a stone golem in a room. I had a trigger of if they go through a doorway, or if they go through one doorway, or if they touch this altar in the middle of the room. The party saw the stone golem chilling there waiting for activation and said, suspicious, let's not touch anything in this room. And oh hey, you mentioned that there's a bit of an overgrown skylight in the ceiling. We're going through that. And they did. And I was like, all right, fair. You bypassed a fight with a stone golem. And that was a reasonable. I hadn't planned for how they might accomplish that. They thought of something I hadn't, and they used their brains. They used their resources cleverly, and it worked. I'd already thrown them through with several other issues, by the way, of like hallway filled with acid, basically. Like, if you touch anything, you get burned. And I believe they bypass that by freezing everything very well. And then, once it was all frozen, they basically hurried across before it unfroze and could actually harm them. Once again, creativity. They did a great job. I'm not gonna punish them for doing something smart. If you're gonna punish your party every time they think of something creative, then they're not gonna have as much fun with it, for one, as a player, and two, then they're going to stop doing things smart at all, because why bother? You're just gonna punish them for it. It's not a good DMing style, and it's not a good way to have fun with your friends or family. Unless, of course, they're particularly asking for a harder challenge in some ways, but then there's better ways to do it still. Further along, the cubicles. Man, even the graffiti comes off really easily in here. I love this. Or how much of this is because I've got the higher level thing, but still. These will be private dance floors, each one featuring the latest hits from different continents. From a different continent. Okay. I don't think that is not enough room to dance. At least not properly. I got issues with this design. And his idea here, I don't think it's going to work. But you know what? Whatever. It's a game. Once again, same though that could also apply with the whole Water Temples D&D thing. It's a game. Have fun with it. As a DM and as a party, have fun. That's the rule. Generally, is are you having fun? Unless, of course, you're wanting to not have fun. Well, why are you playing that then? If you don't want to have fun, there's better things you could do if you don't want to have fun. Yeah. Alright. Not bad. These all come clean real easy. I'm kind of surprised by this level so far. Wonder what this is supposed to be a washroom for initially. Like, what was the purpose of this place? What was its design? Where do these doors go? Are they like a pool entrance? Are we talking some sort of waterworks? Excuse me? What was that? I don't know what that was. It was weird and loud. Alright, gotta get these hand dryers clean. Clean that. Clean there. Clean this side. Go. Get the sinks. Alright, the faucets are separate from the other parts. Got it. The angling on this is a little tricky. Alright, 1 sink done. 2 sinks done. 3 sinks done. Nice. This one's moving along at a nice pace. I like that. Alright. What are some other good ways we could do with the water temples? It's a temple. Is there a blessing pool that your party could, use at least once, maybe, before the blessing dissipates, to heal a major wound? Or maybe bring a dead party member back? That's a great thing to include, especially if the party's been looking for some ways to revive someone. That could be one of the reasons for going to a water temple in the first place. Rumors of a pool of life that can restore the dead back to the living. That would be an entirely plausible thing for that, or they could be hired by someone for something like that. Go discover the fountain of youth for your benefactor, who's paying you handsomely to go and clear out the dangers and make sure the temple is actually what it says in the rumors, so that they can come and use it. Of course, there's probably something more to that, because alright, I've got to use cleaning stuff on here. Probably it looks like this place is, I don't know. Okay. No, it is coming clean still. Never mind. Alright, it came clean. I was afraid it was rusted and I'd have to use something a little heavier duty, but it came off. Another fun thing would be as a trap, a pool or a stream. But if you touch the water, you get knocked into an enchanted sleep. Easily could drown. You could easily have all sorts of issues there. Or maybe a monster is waiting that is like a water weird or something that is probably immune to that kind of junk, is waiting for the party to have a slip up there and grab someone unawares. Water Temple's also a great place to use a gelatinous cube because, something's keeping the place clean. Maybe. Or another great one would be, I'm probably thinking of this because of Games Workshop's recent work on Warhammer Quest Darkwater. But, if it is a water temple, but it's been corrupted by some sort of demonic influence, and the water is, you don't want the water to lose its properties for healing. You have to go save the temple before it gets corrupted at the source. I thought these were rusty, and yet they're coming clean. You know what? Maybe this thing is powerful enough to actually blast rust? Or maybe I misunderstood how dirty they were, or what they were dirty with. Either way, I am not going to complain not having to wrestle with the rust. That is very nice to not have to do. Alright. But then if you do like a corrupted temple deal, you can do all sorts of fun things with water. Like, oh well, this room is very swampy now. It would be a real shame if you contracted horrible diseases. That's something that doesn't come up a lot in D&D, I feel. Probably because in part they're so easy to deal with in D&D usually. But diseases, like, you can actually have your character get sick and suffer like major effects from those sorts of things. even ordinary non-magical diseases. Now, of course, you get some characters that kind of get loopholes against any of that stuff. Paladins, for example, I believe cannot get affected by that type of thing, but that's only one class there, and you probably also have some people with higher constitutions in the party that. But it could really, wreck a wizard's day if they're if they're the classic low constitution wizard, and now they're getting sick and having to cast spells with disadvantage because they're, trying not to sneeze and cough up a lung while casting a spell. That can be a fun way to just kind of maybe nerf an overpowered party member for a little bit. At least until the cleric, or they get hold of a cleric who can cast, cure disease and all that. Depends on your world setting too. Like, are you doing standard D&D, or are you doing like a high magic, low magic situation? Because then you may or may not even have access to some of the stuff you'd need to clear up that kind of issue. The urinals, now I'm thinking, will each contain a different soft drink, allowing the patrons to rehydrate after hitting the cubicles. No. Just no. Especially since, if they look like urinals, someone's going to use them as a urinal. Or they better be, fresh, clean urinals, even if you were going to remotely consider putting anything in. But just no. Don't do it. Ugh. Sorry. Gonna take a minute to recover from that. Mental imagery. Ugh. No. Ugh. I've cleaned way too many urinals in my time to ever want to even remotely consider drinking anything out of one. Way too many urinals. Horribly nasty urinals. Where's up with this weird little... There we go. Wait, this is the urinal? This is the urinal. Okay. Right. Yeah, no. Also, how would you even get stuff like a reasonable drink level in there? Just no. No. No, 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 no. There's much nope all involved with that. Idea for a water temple. I just had to think of these piping setups. What if it isn't water that's necessarily going through the pipes? I mean, it's a water temple, doesn't mean you aren't transporting other substances. Various slimes and oozes could be easily infesting a place like that. Or, would be a real shame if the party was going through an area and then realized a little late that the water coming out of those, that as they go through an area and start passing down a hall and trigger a trap, there isn't water spraying out to flood the place. It's acid coming out to melt them. That is a entirely plausible setup for D&D traps, as far as I'm concerned, and just could get real nasty and real messy. Real easily. Alright, where am I missing? There we go. Got down. The washroom wall continues along this way. We'll keep that. The cistern pipe. Well, that's going to be difficult, it seems, to get an angle on. Never mind. Okay. Yeah, this level is seeming weirdly easy, and I kind of suspicious of that as far as the cleaning goes. Oh well, not gonna complain. Looks nice and interesting, but I would never want to use it for the things that this guy is suggesting they use it for. Was this the same guy hunting Sasquatch, or was that someone else? No, this is the this is the guy with the drill, isn't it? That we cleaned, the giant drill that, yeah, it was coated in mineral deposits. With how this game's been holding, like tying certain things together, I wouldn't be surprised if there is some tie in there as to like why there's so much volcanic activity, or that our one friend has been looking into, and all other and why so many places are messy and certain with like volcanic ash and other junk. What if it's partly because of drilling in the area, reactivating some lava tubes or something, disturbing the caldera? Could be a lot of things. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with some of that storyline. If they bothered to go that sort of detail anyway. They may not even have bothered going quite that detailed, but you never know with some of these games. Cleaning, 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 cleaning. I don't want to lose track of where I am, so trying to be thorough. There we go, another light gun. There we go, big ceiling panel done. Steel girder. Another sky frame I didn't pay 9 to yet. Alright. Of course, there's always the classic stuff for water temple, so thinking about that. You could just drown your party if you're like, or have them risk drowning. Always good to have some scrolls or items, spells at least available for water breathing when it comes to temples, like that. Maybe you only have, maybe the party isn't high level to have a whole lot of access to that kind of thing, or maybe they only have some maybe they have limitations on how many times they can use it safely for whatever reason. Like they just don't have that many of the spell available, so many spell slots for the time frames available. That can be a great way to put a little bit of pressure on your party in those circumstances of, yeah, you gotta get this done before your spell wears off. Give me 1 second. I can't remember if water breathing was a concentration spell. That can always complicate people's lives with concentration spells. Water breathing 5e. The spell grants up to 10 willing creatures within range the ability to breathe underwater until the spell ends. Also return to normal mode of respiration. Target component, reed, or piece of straw. Up to 10 willing creatures. Transmutation, you can use it as a ritual spell. That's great. So you don't have to worry about burning spell slots. Okay, not concentration. So I guess that one you don't have to worry about the Perseus cast down you being smacked and suddenly everyone can't breathe again. That would be a horrible way to mess with their party if they had something like that. But yeah, that's not a thing. So yeah, cool. Comments below. Any favorite water temples you guys have experienced in video games? Or any least favorite water temples? I'm trying to think what my most favorite and least favorites are with that. It's been a while since I did a whole lot with water temple stuff. Kind of want to say... I want to say Ocarina of Time did probably have one of the most annoying water temples because of all the ups and downs and lefts and rights you had to do in order and raising and lowering of the water levels to get where you need to go for each room. And if you accidentally missed a spot, have to redo this part in order to get to this part. And So the enemies in there were kind of difficult to deal with or annoying to deal with at times. At the same time, though, that one also had, I think it was that War Temple that also had a spot where you fight your shadow self, and that was really cool. Is that one? I think that was that one. Yeah. I want to say it was. Either way, and that was really cool, so that, it's a tough one. I also recall really enjoying the Twilight Princess dungeons, and well, the Twilight Princess game in general was a lot of fun because of all the features you had. With the once again, traversal got interesting at times, from snowboarding down a mountain to turning into a wolf and running along. There was a lot there. Say it's coming up right, nice, huh? If you say so. Okay, where is this part of this cubicle wall? I was expecting holes in the walls and all manner of unholy deposits. Oh, there's seeing some. Well, that doesn't account for it all either. Where am I missing? There's that one. Over here? I ain't seen so much as a cracked tile yet. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. This place is in better shape than I expected it to be in a lot of ways. Come on. Where is this piece of cubicle wall that's not clean? I am not seeing it. That's... Yeah, I'm not seeing it in. Okay. We have to drop down in order to get the angle I need. Come on. Give it. Saw that flash back there. There we go. Okay, that is annoying with the wall there. I'm trying to get between along that cubicle backing. Though that, in all fairness, I can't even say is unrealistic. I have had to clean so many bathrooms, and the toilets and everything, they definitely do not design them in a way for ease of cleaning. They make them such a pain. Too little space in some areas, too much space in others. I guess too little space is usually the bigger issue. To try to get a scrubber in there properly, and yeah, and not have to stick your face right in this stuff while you're practically doing that to reach an area that you need to scrub. You need to get the place clean, but good luck reaching it without being uncomfortably close to certain areas where too many people's butts have been. That would be a weird twist on the water treatment plant. Not water treatment, on the water temple. Okay, instead of going to the water temple, you're going to the water treatment plant. You got, as a D&D party, you've got to, the water supply is being tampered with, go deal with it. At, like, where it's being treated and or mistreated. That could lead to a whole lot of things. Like, what does a D&D world use to treat water supplies to make them safe? You have to ask yourself some questions like that. But then, so that could be a whole lot of things. You could have, it could be a place where a bunch of clerics are casting purify food and water, like they're casting those purification spells all day. Like just huge shifts of clerics. That's their job, is to provide clean water for the city via constant attendance to the water supply. I'm sure that would actually make sense for some clerical sect in the game to be doing something like that, just to, because that's, you can find a clerical group for basically everything in that game. Could be some little lesser known demigod that you can make up on the spot, who is in charge of just maintaining drinkable water. What would be a good name for someone like that? Can't think of it right at the moment. Sure, there's something honey that could be used though. Yeah, I can't think of a good one right off the top of my head right now. A little too tired for that. Sad. Oh well. Meow. I love how quick this is coming clean. That's done. Uh-huh. That's done. Good. Come on, come clean. We're almost there. You can do it. What am I missing? Where am I missing a spot on? Come on. This is just being annoying now. It's like, okay, there has to be something that isn't coming clean here. Somewhere. That is making this not quite clean, right? Floor's clean. Wall clean. Wall clean. Why is this wall not coming clean? Okay, that's done. Done. Wait, is it on this side? Is that possible? No, that's a different wall considered as far as items go. Okay, so something in here is not right. There we go. Got it, got it, got it, got it. Cubicle frame. There we go. Alright, I kind of missed those on this other one too, didn't I? Come on. Come clean. There we go. I saw that little teeny spot. Where is it? Washroom wall. Cubicle wall. Done, done, done. See something here. Or is it out here? There we go. Another girder. Washroom wall. No, okay, it's something in here. Something along in here is not coming clean right. And I don't like that because I can't see anything. There we go. It's very up and along the seams there. This to be on this washroom wall. Now it's done. This washroom wall. Probably just on the windowsills where I'm missing something. Oh, ended up in that corner. Yeah, that windowsill there. Come on. Mostly up above there. Got it. Done, 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 done. Let's get this done. Or a treatment plant for a dungeon would also have handy things as well. You could easily put an Otyong in there, since they tend to be carrion and general, garbage eaters. That could be a good way to throw a thing at your party. And I believe they are specifically a thing that does have an attack that has a percentage chance of inflicting diseases. So it can be a good way to really mess with your parties, having to be careful about what they do and how they handle things, unless they like being sick. Come on. One more. There we go. Dun dun dun. Alright. So far, so good. That just leaves... oh, this urinal is not clean. What did I miss? Where did I miss it? Where did I miss it? Not there. Oh, here. There we go. Dun 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 dun. Checking all around. Alright, I think it's just these two areas now. Good, good. Would be a good reason for a party to go to a water temple otherwise, besides, possibly healing. Elemental connection of some sort. Maybe they have to go there to deal with a water get help for dealing with a water elemental, or maybe to appease a water elemental lord. Something along those lines. They could easily have something along that to give the party a reason to go there and to have to be diplomatic with something. Perhaps that's their job, is to, hey, we had a misunderstanding with so-and-so and the elemental plane of water. Go fix this, please, so that we can move on with not having an elemental lord angry with us. Because those guys pack a punch. That could be a fun way to do it. Toilet lid, toilet seat, tile floor. Okay, this floor again. Do. Okay, what is being missed? There we go. Get these little latches. Getting the hinges. I have something I missed somewhere with the hinge. At least I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, since it's one of those things that's easy enough to miss. Mr. Gnome, get out of the toilet. You're coming with me? You can say that. There's that. Easy enough. You could also have the party going there for a murder investigation, honestly. If you want to do something more detective-y for your party, then yeah, water temple or water treatment area would be great, because people might be using the waterways to dispose of bodies or to transport drugs, or all sorts of illegal activities. Easy enough to be tied in for something like that. And of course, you could always go the full Ocarina of Time and just be like, yes, you want to reach this room, you're going to have to raise the water level over here and then lower it over here, vice versa, and adjust this in order to get through this chamber, because this gate is sealed otherwise, and yeah, and you can't reach this ledge. Though, once again, that's a harder thing to do with a D&D party because of all their abilities and traversal capabilities, usually. The number of times I've had monks just ignore the laws of physics, basically, and just be like, yeah, nope, I can jump that gap, I can climb that wall, I can scale this cliff. Glass barbarians as well, I've had similar issues of, oh yes, here's an obstacle, never mind, it's not an obstacle anymore. Because they can just do that. They can ignore certain obstacles in so many ways. With high enough stats and certain abilities, you can really pull some things off. I had a glass barbarian once go up a wall in a chamber, in a spaceship type deal. Kind of think Space Jam stuff. And got the literal like drop on I want to say it was a zombie dragon at the time. Either way, they could, one, take this fall damage no problem themselves, and two, they use the extra momentum and all that to really deal extra damage as they slammed down on top of this thing and just wrecked the boss fight there quite well for a good opening blow, one of the earlier blows in the combat. Now, admittedly, it wasn't a thing they could easily like do again in the same combat because they're busy fighting a giant zombie dragon, and once you get in close quarters, good luck getting away from that. But it was still a situation that they were able to really manipulate the use of the terrain to their advantage. And so, yeah, water temples traversal, not nearly as much of a problem when you can ignore the need to climb and jump and whatnot, as like Link did in most of his cases. I mean, they could, like a D&D party can do some stupid stuff, and also with the high enough constitution, they can hold their breath for a ridiculous amount of time. So, depending on whether there's air pockets or what, some characters may not even need a water breathing potion or a spell or whatever else to help them get around. They could just, free dive it. Some of those characters, it would be completely believable. So, yeah, you definitely have to change up the puzzles to account for D&D shenanigans and just general everything there, because part of the reason the water temple was the way it was in Ocarina of Time was because that was designed for puzzling. You had to work out your route. You had to actually think about how you want to get from point A to point B, and how can you do it when Link can't grab half the stuff that like he can't grab a ledge, etc. and so forth, like you or I could. I'm a little concerned of where I'm missing. All right, there's one. There's one. I'm still a little concerned over what I might be missing here because I don't see anything. We're at 99%. Oh, there's a thing. The light switch is apparently a thing. All right, that's an item. All right, I mean I have to get one for. Is there one in each or just certain spots? Okay, it looks like the light switches were a major item that I missed. A lot of stuff on. There we go. That one's done. That one is taken care of. Yep, there's another bit. Okay. We've got all the hinges. What am I missing? I think we've been pretty thorough. Water basins, water. Well, I got those. Lights. Maybe I missed something on one of the lights. Light conduit. That could easily be something I missed somewhere. Light conduit. Cistern pipe. Window frame. I feel like I'm missing something small, or there's some item here that is like a half an inch from being done, and I just missed it. Light, pipe, conduit, all good. Ooh, I bet I missed the cistern stuff over here. No, those are done. That's done. Cistern pipe. All right, now I'm really confused as to what I'm missing. Because I'm kind of not... light conduit right there. So this light conduit somewhere is missing it. Alright. You can work with that. There we go. Done. This light is missing as well. Done. Oh, I know. I forgot. I can just check in here. One cistern pipe is missing. One cubicle wall. One light conduit. Okay, so it is one of the light conduits. This one. Light conduit. Okay. Now we got the pop-up. Alright, cistern pipes. Cistern pipes. This one is done as far as I can tell. Is there a different cistern pipe setup here? Cistern pipe must have been one of the bathrooms. There we go. This one's missing. Well, I'm having a little trouble thinking of any further things for water temples right at the moment. Cubicle wall. Not that one. No. Where are you? One of the lights is missing something as well. Light, light. 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 This light. Here we go. Light's done. Is it this cubicle somewhere as well for the wall? Cubicle wall? No. I am not seeing a cubicle wall. It is in need of cleaning still. So that's bothersome. Guess I just spray down everything and hope it comes through. Eh. Okay. Probably one of these walls if so. No, got that one done for sure. That done. Wait. Is that this one? Okay. Okay, one of these weird themed ones. There we go. Done. Job complete. Meow. Meow. All in all, the place looks great. But I would not use it for anything that guy suggested using it for. Because, no. I can't believe this is the same place that I bought. You're a miracle worker is what you are. Now I'm thinking, do I really want a bunch of sweaty Gen Zs grimy up the place? Or do I want to open it as a luxury washroom where you can spend a penny in peace, albeit at a higher price? Now that does appeal. Okay, well, at least that's better than the original plan. Clean the Helter Skelter. Oh, that's not a... I thought it was a roller coaster. It's one of those weird, one of those slides where you go up to the top. You go up the middle, climb up a staircase, then you get like a sack or a slide or something and go down to the outside of the tower. Okay. That doesn't seem like it'll be fun. That is that's paying a good bit to clean it, so I'm betting this has got a lot of weird little nooks and crannies that I am not gonna like. We'll see. That's for another time, though. Thanks everyone so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm still enjoying this game. It's a nice break from the usual, like, heavier intensity games I tend to play otherwise. So I'm finding these as a nice break to just on days when I just need some downtime. And I can highly recommend it for that sort of use for you guys as well. Probably is it works well for just, hey, I need a breather. Grab these while they're available, just so I have them. All right. Owned. Turbo nozzle. Let's buy that. Huh, never bought that one. Interesting. Uh-huh. I'll buy it just to have all the stuff. Uh-huh. Good. Don't need those really. Alright, I think we're all the way up now on our full set cleaning setup. That's great. Anyway, good night, everyone. Bye.